Hello, my name is Althea Greaney. Welcome to this edition of the Simsbury View, a show that is designed to go behind the scenes of our town to learn more about what makes it unique. Today, we will be introducing you to a new service being added to Simsbury's already stellar list of outstanding services, like the schools, the library, SCTV, the police and fire support, and our outstanding local government. Our guests today are Kevin Kowalski, Deputy Chief, Chief Administrative Officer, and Fire Marshal for the Simsbury Fire District, and Stephen Hess, Lieutenant for the Firetown Station here in Simsbury. Hello, Kevin and Steve. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Althea, for this opportunity to come to the show and give you some great news.
Absolutely. Wonderful. So what is this new service that the Simsbury Fire District has implemented?
Well, as of today, we are able to, after 3 years of hard work, we're able to broadcast a new radio station, a community radio station, WSIM, 103.5 FM, and it will be used for emergency service as well as community programming.
Wonderful. Sounds great. So why have a low-power FM station here in Simsbury?
Well, after the storms 3 to 4 years ago, we had a real need for communications with the citizens and the people that are traveling and were visiting Simsbury. Unfortunately, a lot of the major media, because of power interruptions and things of that nature, weren't able to get the communication to our folks. So it was important that we address that situation, and the best way that we determined that we could is through an FM radio station. Okay. And it's offered every 15 years through FCC. So we are right at a moment that we could apply for it and try to do it, try to get it, and we achieved it.
Fantastic. So it's been a lot of work. There's been a lot of people involved in getting this FM station up and running.
Yes, absolutely. Steve Hess, who his background is in school, is been this type of media with engineering. We have a citizen from town, Jeff Huggable, who has offered his service. Tremendous amount of time and effort went into the process of developing a studio, getting the license, and processing this along. And it's worked out really well.
So what is this FM station's going to, what is its primary purpose going to be?
Well, the first and primary purpose is to deliver emergency messages to the community. Okay. That was the purpose initially, and that we would give timely messages to items specific to Simsbury. People can tune in to some of the AM stations, but it will be a very large geographic area. We can give out information that's specific to town, okay, which we think is a very important feature.
Right. So this FM station will cover the whole geographical area of Simsbury?
Right. We hope with the system that we've developed, we'll be able to cover at least within the borders of town.
Fantastic.
With the transmitter.
So who develops the programming for an FM station?
Well, I'll let Steve answer that one.
Yeah, well, we have a small group. I'm program director for the station. So we have a small group of fire department volunteers that have stepped up to the plate. They're going to be working closely with me, and we're in conjunction, we're going to be working with the Fire Marshal's office to develop programs that will broadcast, hopefully, 24/7 as we get this ball rolling. So it'll be good. It'll be very good.
Okay, so what kind of programming can WSIM handle?
Our primary, as Kevin said, our primary goal is public information. So we want to work with the Fire Marshal's office to get PSAs, public service announcements, out to the public when we need to. In addition, we hope to do musical programs. We have the capability to do sports broadcasting. In conjunction with SCTV, we'll be able to offer programs for town meetings and things of that nature. So there's a lot of potential as we continue our development with the radio station of what we can offer the town.
Fantastic. So the fire district is going to be doing emergency programming when there's emergencies, but when there's non-emergency, you know, just regular day-to-day, hopefully there's not very many emergencies. Is the station staffed, or how is that being handled?
We have the capability to pre-record a lot of programs. So that's the primary goal. We're an all-volunteer department. Our membership that stepped up to the radio station is also a volunteer basis. So we hope to create programs that we can come in, record them, and then broadcast them when we have the time, and create a schedule that way. That way we take the burden off of the firehouse to constantly have it staffed. So that's our goal.
That's pretty much how SCTV works too. We pre-record and then schedule.
Yep.
So, and it works out pretty well for the community.
Yeah.
They get information that they need at a, when they can access it.
Right. Absolutely.
So who would you like to listen to WSIM?
Well, we hope that everyone will be able to tune it in, and we want them to have that in their preset.
Right.
So that's why it's important for us to have the correct programming. We want to have a very usable station that people will tune in, and during emergencies they can pick up information that's important to them in this community, whether it's storm warnings or it's in the future perhaps road closures, power interruption updates, things of that nature. We really want to get the information out, and we hope that that will certainly succeed, but we have to be able to work 24/7, so that's an important feature that we're developing. We have to know that this is kind of a work in progress, and we're learning as well as everyone in the staff. The volunteers are learning. We have some very good supporters and consultants, so to speak, with SCTV helping us with some of the nuances that go on with production operations. It's very important. We have some very good professionals from the radio community that are helping us. And again, Jeff, who has stepped to the plate and did a tremendous job getting us equipment and our studio built. So it's very important that everyone comes together and gets this thing done.
Fantastic. So how do people that might be interested in helping you either with programming or any other kind of assistance? Maybe they have some special skills?
They can contact us through our website, which is www.simsburyfd.org. We'll have a page for the WSIM. Or they can call us at the main firehouse, which is right on Hot Meadow Street at 860-658-1971, and they can contact myself or Steve. Steve will be the programming. And then we have an advisory committee that is set up for the station that will be clearing a lot of the programming through, which I think is an important feature of it.
Right, yeah. Fantastic. So SCTV and WSIM are kind of partnering to provide some programming. And are there any other organizations that you think might be able to help in this?
We're hoping to partner also with the Chamber of Commerce, as well as the school system, the Board of Ed. We've talked to them, and they seem very interested in partnering, perhaps even broadcasting some football games or field hockey games or something like that over an FM. The important thing about this is once we get going, we'll also hopefully stream our broadcast. So it won't be just over the airways, it'll be over a computer system. So people will be able to tune it in no matter where they're at.
Okay, whether they're local to pick up the FM station or they can tune in on the...
or streaming it on a computer. Yeah.
That would be nice. People that have to leave town when their kids are playing games.
Right.
So you just need the volunteers to step up to do those things.
We will. We'll need a large scale. We're going to start small and then develop it. And I hope everyone, once we get moving along, will jump on board and help us out.
Yeah. Well, it's a community. It's like SCTV. You just step up there and say, we need volunteers and we need help, and there's people that have interest and they step forward.
That'll be great.
That'll be fantastic.
So when will WSIM begin regular broadcasting on a small scale?
We're hoping the first week of October we'll be broadcasting with regular programming. That's our time element, and that's been our date since the start of the project. And I think that we'll probably meet it. It'll take a lot of work, but Steve and his team, but I think we'll meet it.
Fantastic. So October 1st, people can tune into 103.5.
103.5.
WSIM.
WSIM.
Okay, very nice. How might programming change from the very beginning going forward? I think we kind of covered it a little bit, but
Right.
Steve, do you want to?
Well, we're going to concentrate mainly right now on a smaller schedule. I have a group of volunteers that are going to provide initial programming, mainly music, public safety messages, just general announcements to the public. And as we expand and as we grow, the possibilities are really limitless. You know, as Kevin said, we can work with the school system. We can hopefully broadcast public meetings through the radio and through our online internet streaming, football games, you know, everything of that nature. So there's really a lot of possibility as we continue to grow. We'd love to experiment and see what we can get into.
Right. Do you have the capability of doing a call and talk program if somebody had an interest of doing that later on down the line?
Later on down the line, we can absolutely look into that. We don't have it right now,
Right.
but as we build the system up, that's absolutely something we've been looking into and seeing how that would work out for us.
Okay. So,
Yeah.
so if somebody had an interest, again, they can call you or contact you through the
Right.
website, the
Yep.
Simsbury FD?
SimsburyFD.org. Yep.
Okay, fantastic. Going back to the primary purpose of WSIM, which was to allow residents to become aware of emergency situations. What type of emergencies at this point in time do you see WSIM informing the citizens of?
Well, certainly weather emergencies is a primary one. And it's not just on the initial call of a NOAA emergency radio service tone out like they get on a regular radio, which we'll be providing also. But also it'll be consistent current messaging on, you know, how what's the anticipated river height at a certain location within the community.
Right.
In the past, we've had problems. We want to make sure that people are have the availability of that information
Right.
to make decisions.
Right.
So things of that nature. Certainly, with the winter weather coming upon us, that'll be a key point. And if there's any type of transportation incident, maybe a hazardous material incident, that we can communicate that people need to either shelter in place or perhaps go to a shelter and evacuate. So those are all important things that we feel are on our list that we need to be ready for and be able to post that information out.
So for purposes of the residents, it might be good just to keep WSIM tuned in the background anytime there's a chance of a problem.
Certainly would be. And again, you know, identify that preset on your radio,
Right.
whether it's in your car or on your stereo at home. We're hoping to make sure that we have programming 24 hours a day so you can identify the station that we have. Because again, it's a low power FM radio station.
Right.
So we want to make sure that it's in fact working well for everyone.
Okay. And I know that there's certain FCC rules also where you have to broadcast who you are, like that you're 103.5 and that you're WSIM, so the people will know that they've got the correct
Correct.
Yeah.
radio station. Because there is a lot of low power FM stations right around that same area.
Yeah, there is.
I noticed because I went looking for it and it was like, wow, this is really hard to kind of tune it in. But if you wait, the announcements will come up. Do they come up
Correct.
like every half hour?
It's
or-
every 30 minutes, I
Every
believe
30
we have to.
minutes. Okay.
We may be putting it out more often.
Well, that would
once the
probably be
programming.
good for the very beginning so people
Sure.
can actually get tuned in
Sure.
and get those presets set.
Yep.
So, okay. So, Steve, I don't know if you have this information yet, but what would residents hear or be likely to hear before an emergency, during an emergency, and after after an emergency event if they tuned into WSIM?
We're still working out those details, but ideally, as Kevin said, if we have an event, if we have a big winter storm coming or any kind of, tropical hurricane, anything of that nature, before the storm, you can certainly be advised of what's coming, when is it expected to hit, maybe some preparedness items to stock up, create home kits for the residents. During the actual storm event, just to give an example, you can have updates from the EOC, Emergency Operations Center. They can certainly be advising residents of the current status of how we're operating. And then after, as we established in the storms of 2011, the cleanup recovery effort, which roads are accessible, what the schedule is on trying to clear out those main arteries, when we can have power back. So stuff like that we anticipate being very proactive in informing the residents of.
And also probably information about where to take shelter.
Absolutely.
Where you can pick up emergency supplies or whatever.
Absolutely.
That type of thing.
Yes.
Okay. That would be really helpful. That storm was just incredible. So I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Is the police department also being involved with this?
Eventually, we're going to
hurricane?
coordinate with all the emergency services in town, the ambulance, the police, as well as town highway, and have them have some input into it. Again, we're going to be starting this off slow and seeing how it's going to develop, and based on the ability to program all this and to make sure that once we start, we continue. And that's one of the most important factors that we can do. Once we start with initial warnings, we have to be able to continue, because there's an expectation that we'll be there. And so we have to make sure that that's done.
Fantastic. Yeah. It's a lot of work for you guys. Just and I hats off, that you've taken it on and done this fantastic job. The other thing I wanted to cover with people, so that the town people know, is that the FM station is actually in the fire station.
Yes.
So the Emergency Operations Center and the transmission location for the radio station is actually in the same location.
Well, actually, the fire station in the center of town is the backup emergency operations center.
Okay.
But it's in a secured location, and it also has emergency power backup, and it also has a direct attachment to the state fiber line, that ties all the municipalities together. So it's a really good location, and it's physically tied. In other words, it's the next room over from our server room where all the data is. So there's not much we hope that will reduce the reliability. Whereas the community has the EOC is in the basement of the town hall with the police department. And we've been operating there for quite some time. But we'll have the ability through fiber optic line to be connected directly. So we're hoping in the future to go remote with our system, so we could actually go on the street, go on to the EOC, go anywhere with our programming.
Fantastic.
And do it live.
Right.
So.
Yeah. SCTV's going live.
Yeah, there you go.
So yeah, it's the technology is so complicated and so it's available, but you just have to be able to know how to leverage it. And
yeah, we have actually, because of Jeff's involvement through CBS Radio and his knowledge, we are able to get a state-of-the-art computer system that's going to work all these situations out. And that's what Steve's specialty is. So he's going to be diving deep into that, and that's going to be one of the most important factors of our programming.
Right. Yeah.
Being able to work it out. So we do all the equipment that we were able to get was state-of-the-art. So hopefully we're setting off with a good foot.
Wonderful, wonderful. And the community is going to be very thankful with the next time we have an October storm
Yeah.
or a hurricane or any of the other things that can happen.
Sure.
And we hope they don't happen, but it's always good to be prepared. And so a lot of the public service announcements that you're going to be generating will also be information on how to be prepared even if there's no emergency.
Correct.
So if people tune in and they hear information about, well, you should have X number of bottles of water and you should have this on hand and this on, they may not be actually listening to an emergency, they may be listening to a PSA.
Right.
So I just wanted to make sure people understood that. We don't want people panicking the first time they tune into WSIM and hear a public service announcement that's not actually an emergency.
Right.
Will there be tones in and tones out for emergencies, do you think? Or
That's still in development. It will be definitely, there will be a clear, concise way of telling from a regular public service announcement to one that you need to pay attention to because something was going to be happening in town here.
Very good, yeah.
We have an emergency system that's required every radio station has to have, where when a emergency tone is set, we have to replicate that out. So, and we'll be testing it periodically, just like anyone else does on a commercial radio system. So we have all that equipment in place, and what will happen is we'll receive the information tone from, say for instance, NOAA weather, and they will retransmit over our station. So they'll get the same, we are subject to the same standards in that case as WTIC or DRC or any of those radio stations. We're under the same requirements under FCC. So.
Okay, so if somebody's listening to a different radio station, they're in Simsbury, they want to know specifically what's happening in Simsbury, they can then switch from TIC to WSIM.
Correct.
Correct.
Okay, so that's a good trigger.
Yes.
If you hear it
Yeah.
someplace, just go to WSIM.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Any other things that we should be covering, letting people know about?
If you don't mind, I just
Nope,
want
take
to
a
make
look
sure
at
we
your notes.
recap our notes here. Again, we do have a mission statement for the station to include the community in the entire process, in which we have with our advisory board. So I think it's important that the community use the station and listen to the station, just like they do with SCTV. One of the things that we found again in October of the snowstorms was that unfortunately TV was knocked out,
Right.
computers were knocked out. The only thing that was left was a regular FM radio station and or an AM station.
Right.
So we've decided, because of the technology is a little bit better on the FM, that we're able to get it, and I think it'll work great for us.
Great, wonderful.
Right.
Okay. So, well, we have a few minutes, but I don't think, other than, would you like to do a PSA for the public to be ready for emergencies at this point?
Well, we can speak to actually on two things. First of all, Fire Prevention Week is coming up in October, and I think it's important that people kind of heed the notice that there's no question that smoke detectors have saved lives, none whatsoever. One of the things that we're finding, however, is that some of the smoke detectors, their batteries, don't work. There is new technology out there now that allow you to provide for 10 years battery life to a smoke detector.
Wow.
You just switch out the smoke detectors. For those that have electric with a battery backup, you have, I believe there's technology now that you can get the 10-year battery for that. But to make sure that the batteries are up to speed. We've had countless times in our own community where detectors have actually saved people's lives. And it's really tragic when you hear of house fires with whole families that are perishing in these fires, coming to find out that they had no working smoke detectors.
Right. I have a question about that, because I'm in a home, we moved in over 20 years ago, and they had the electric fire smoke detectors, and then we added in the battery ones. But do those smoke detectors, because it's an ion thing
Ionization, yeah.
in it, do those things go bad after a few years?
Yeah, actually the manufacturers now are saying that once they hit 10 years, they're not as reliable as they should be.
Okay.
And quite frankly, the cost of the detectors are such so it really warrants to replace them
Okay.
every 10 years.
All right.
And when we go to people's houses for for any type of calls, we suggest strongly. And one of the telltales, believe it or not, if they're yellow,
Yeah.
time to change them.
Okay.
Yeah, time to change them. And then CO detectors, same thing. You know,
Yeah.
it's important that we pay attention to CO detectors.
Right.
And the earlier ones were very good initially. They had a tendency to go off false call, but the newer ones now are very well built, and again, the cost of them, it's really worth it to perhaps swap them out
Yeah.
once they hit 7 to 10 years on the CO detectors.
Okay, well, thank you. Now I have to call an electrician. So, we've got just a couple minutes, but I think I'm going to just wrap this up and say, in order to get in touch with the Simsbury Fire Department and WSIM, you can go to www.simsburyfd.org.
Correct?
You can call 860-658-1971.
That's it. Yep.
That's it.
Okay.
That'll be
and-
our dispatcher.
Okay.
And you just ask for either one of us, and just state that you're calling about the radio information.
Okay.
And we will certainly get back to you on it.
Okay.
To try to get the information back out to you.
Fantastic.
Yep.
All right. WSIM 103.5.
103.5.
Fantastic.
Thank
Well, so we've run out of time, and if you have any additional questions, again, you can contact Steve or Kevin at www.simsburyfd.org, and we're talking about WSIM 103.5. Our director today is Karen Hanville. Our camera operators are Jim Dempsey and Phil Kachan. Our production support is provided by SCTV staff, Karen Hanville, Phyllis Fishberg, and Kristen Benedict. And I hope you have a safe and a happy day.
Funding for Simsbury Community Television is provided in part by contributions from viewers like you. Thank you.